Class is in memory of Jared Orchen, and today we're going to speak about Parshah Tazria, page 89. You know, when you give, people give presents. When usually people give presents? By a birthday, you give a present to a person. Really, a person don't really deserve a present by his birthday. He didn't do anything. Nobody asked him to be born. He grows up if he likes it or not. He turns at a certain age. It's his birthday if he did anything, or he laid in bed a whole year. I mean, it's the same thing. Nothing happened. Why we give him a present? Not clear. He doesn't really deserve a present. By a bar mitzvah, we give presents. Why you give present? It's called in Hebrew doron drasha. You give him a present for preparing the speech. He did a good speech, you give him a present. He prepared for the bar mitzvah, he read the Torah so nicely, he worked so hard, he deserves a present. That makes sense. By a wedding, give presents. Why? Because it's written there is a mitzvah to rejoice the bride and the groom, to make them happy. You come to a wedding, or you dance and you make them happy. If you're not such a good dancer, you better bring a present. Because that's the check will for sure make them happy. You're dancing, yeah. Then there is a present that couples give each other on the day of their anniversary, wedding anniversary. Why there is presents there? It's understood. Everyone is expecting a present. Even the both of them are married at the same day. Everyone is expecting a present. Because she thinks, still sacrifice. It's only because of me this marriage survives. Oh, I sacrificed so much for you. He thinks he sacrifices. That's why every one of them has to give a present to the other. But I would suggest to every man to make sure he brings a present to his wife. But there is one time in a person's life that he really deserves a present. When is it?
Not when he dies.
When he finishes studying the Talmud.
Who is finishing studying Talmud beside you, Corey?
I never started, but... A present for somebody when... Wow.
When is the time that a person
Graduate.
graduated deserves a present? Yeah, maybe. What is really deserving a present?
Giving the Kiddush.
So the person gives, the person deserves a present. What do you think? You should know. When a person really deserves a present.
When they have a child.
Perfect, beautiful. Only a woman can think about it. You give birth to a child. That you really deserve a present. If there is one time in life that a person deserves a present, it's by giving birth.
But that is the best present.
But
that is the best present.
The baby. Somebody gets it. Then why she deserves a present? First of all, you need to understand the man has the obligation to have a child. Pruvu, the mitzvah of having children, being fruitful and multiply, is a mitzvah on the man. The woman does not have the mitzvah. The woman, she's exempt. Clearly, the man has an obligation to have children, a boy and a girl. The woman, she doesn't have the obligation. She's doing her husband a favor to help him to fulfill the mitzvah. I mean, no man can have a child without his wife. I'm sorry. Then she's doing him a favor. That for this alone she deserves a present. On top of it, the first few months of the pregnancy, she's constantly throwing up and sick. And this, I remember my first child by Miriam. Miriam was very, sick, and this, for a good few months, and I thought to myself, if this is married life, whoa. Thank God that it was only the first time. I'm here for a long journey. But then the last few months, you cannot sleep. No matter on which side you're laying, hair, every hour you wake up. It's no life. And then the childbirth pain. That if any time she deserves a present, this is the time. And I remember a lady once came, Miss Bokir, she said, the husband bought her chocolate. She was ready, I don't know what to do to him. Chocolate you bring for giving a word? She throw him out and go buy back no, come back with jewelry. He brings chocolate. Are you crazy? That's for Saba you bring chocolate. Unbelievable, right? Bringing a child that can be the biggest mitzvah, it's the biggest sacrifice. And then raising the child. Who is raising the child? The husband. She is raising the children. Now, we'll see what's going on in the Parshah. What's going on in the Parshah is like this. Last week we learned about kosher animals, pure animals, not pure animals. Today, in this week's Parshah, we read about human beings. Why we learn about animals before we learn about human beings? Why?
Well, they came first.
Because God created first animals, then He created human beings. Why God created animals before human beings? The positive explanation is because He wanted the human being to come to a complete world. Like you bring the baby to the house, and there is a house, and there is a bassinet, and the room is ready, everything is ready. Then you bring the baby. You bring the bride and the groom to the chuppah when everything is ready. You don't bring them before, I was just in a chuppah yesterday in New York. There, 6 o'clock starts the chuppah. That's 2 minutes to 6. They're setting up the eaters for the chuppah. And he looks at us. He says, "You're like the chickens. You wake up so early. You come so early. Like you're on time. You're crazy." Then, but you bring people to a complete place. God created Adam and Eve, the last thing, Friday noon, because He wanted them to come to a complete world. That's why they were created after animals, after everything. That's one explanation. But there is another explanation, that if a person will take himself too seriously, God will tell them, Yatush Kodmoch, even a little... Net. Net, I say it. Net.
G-N-A-T.
G-N-A-T? Oh, but you don't say the G, right? Not Janet. Net. The net, go understand English. What a crazy language. The net is before you. What is such a big macher? The net was created before you. Then therefore, when the Torah first speaks about what animals are pure and what animals are not pure, this week speaks about human beings. How the Torah starts. The laws of ritual impurity of childbirth. Let's start with this. Mr. Orchen, welcome.
God spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, if a woman conceives and gives birth to a male or miscarries, she will be ritually impure for 7 days, even if there is no flow of blood accompanying with the birth. She will be ritually impure just like during the days of her menstrual flow."
This is a certain type of impurity that was practiced in the time of the temple. Today, we have the regular impurities that what connected to women is when they are after blood, they have to wait 7 clean days, and then they can go to the mikveh, and that's it. But at that time was a whole business with 33 days for a boy, for a girl, different times. Okay.
On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin should be circumcised.
Okay, if a woman gives birth, if it's a boy, you have to give him a bris on the 8th day, right? Mm-hmm. And go ahead, continue.
When she immerses in the mikveh after 7 days, then for 33 additional days she will have a waiting period, during which even if she sees blood, she is ritually pure to her husband. Nevertheless, she should still not touch or eat any holy teruma, nor may she enter the sanctuary until the additional 33 days of her total purification have been completed.
Okay, then basically we're talking about a temple time. She couldn't enter the temple until this period of time. Or cannot eat truma, a certain type of food who considered holy, because it belongs to the Kohen and so on. But it had nothing to do with her marriage. Go ahead.
If she gives birth to a female, she will be ritually impure for 2 weeks, just like during her menstrual period. Then for 66 days she will have a waiting period, during which even if she sees blood, she is ritually pure to her husband. Okay, now Mark, you want to continue?
When the days of total purification for a son or a daughter is complete, she should bring a male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, and a young dove or a turtle dove is a sin offering.
Oh, yo, 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 yo. Bring a what offering? 2 offerings you're supposed to bring to the temple.
A dove and a turtle.
Complete, one thing. First of
male
all, there's
dove,
the
male
lamb.
lamb.
a lamb offering is a what? A burnt offering. And then a sin offering. What's a burnt offering? It's an offering that you bring to the temple. When you and it's completely after you slaughter the animal, obviously, it's completely burned on the altar. Then you bring a sin offering. A sin offering. A sin offering.
Oh, that's
Because the woman, because
Oh,
his
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah. Sin offering. We just made up our mind that she deserves a medal for having a baby. A sin offering. What's going on here? Obviously, I'm not the first chochem to ask the question. Why she bring? First of all, let's understand why she brings a burnt offering. A burnt offering is understood why she brings. A burnt offering is kind of saying thank you to God. We all know how childbirth, how dangerous it is, and lately you hear more of this. Young women die by childbirth. It became like another. They say because of too many C-sections.
Really?
That's what I heard the other day. In any case, yeah. The doctors are trying to make it easy, basically, on themselves. And then when you survive a childbirth, everybody knows you need to give, and the child comes out healthy and happy. That you need you bring like a Thanksgiving offering to God. The Thanksgiving, I think, is also a burnt offering. Then you thank God for giving you a gift. That the burnt offering makes sense. Then comes another interesting medrash that says something very interesting. The medrash says the baby was a prisoner, right? The baby is a prisoner. He kicks and screams. I mean, you don't even screaming, but he kicks, right? I can tell you from experience, he kicks. And therefore, when he came out, when a prisoner goes out from jail, he comes to say thank you to God. This baby came out from jail and came out alive and healthy and happy. It's like the mother brings the sacrifice in the name of the baby. The baby is thanking Hashem for bringing him a sacrifice, for survival, for coming out alive and healthy. I heard once from a doctor told me the amount of miracles that have to take place by giving birth is unbelievable. He said, how many things have to work? How many things have to fall into place? And that the burnt offering makes sense. But a sin offering, why sin offering? This question was asked by the Talmud. We will look on page 90 in the classic questions. And we will read, Dr. Kosov, you want to read? Why does a woman who gives birth needs to bring a sin offering? Read the question.
Why does a woman who gave birth need to bring a sin offering and atonement? What sin did she commit? Rambam, our sages said that when a woman is giving birth, she swears that she will never come to her husband again and conceive. Thus, she requires atonement.
Okay. Nachmanides, that's the most famous answer. That a woman, when she gives birth, and it's so hard, sometimes she swears she'll never do it. I'll never have another child. A few months pass by, she turns to her husband, she says, how about another child? And the strange thing is usually the women are the one who want the children, the men are the one who don't want the children. Even the men don't do anything about it, don't suffer, don't do anything. And the women are doing all the hard work. Still, the men are the one who are kvetching about it, and the women are the one who want it, usually, literally. But I must tell you that when the women who do not make the men work too hard are quicker to have children, more children. But when the women make the men work, share with them the work, are less excited to have more children. Just an interesting observation. And I can prove it. I have enough cases to prove it. In any case, the Nachmanides says that's why. I can tell you that my sister had a baby just 2 days ago. Yesterday.
Congratulations.
In Paris. She had a very hard pregnancy. And I told her she had a goal. She wanted a boy for a name after my father. I told her that means we're going to have another boy down in front of her. Then she told me, no. I said, it's this Parshah. That's why you bring a sin offering, because you promise you'll never have a child. And then she tells me, you're right, we don't know yet. Then that's the Nachmanit's explanation. Another explanation, the Bechaya is another explanation. Go ahead.
The woman is required to bring a sin offering due to Chava's sin with the tree of knowledge. For when the roots are damaged, the branches are affected too.
I'll tell you what is he talking about. The women, what happened? Why is the women have childbirth pain? Because of the curse. And Adam ate from the tree of knowledge. Who gave it to him? Chava gave it to him. Eve gave it to him. And therefore, all of them were punished. Adam, Eve, and the snake, right? Adam's punishment was to work hard, to sweat for his labor. Eve's punishment was to have childbirth pain. And the snake was crawling on his stomach and eating dirt. Then this is a part of, it's still going back to the original sin, so to speak. Then it's like, sometimes in big sins, Hashem brings it in small portions. Everyone suffers a little bit for it. When I do something not good, it's not only it's consequences for generations to come. Like the golden calf, it's written, when Moses asked God to forgive the Jewish people. He says, I forgive them now. But it's written, the Talmud says, in every tragedy, there is a little bit of the golden calf punishment. It's spread out. The same thing in childbirth. The pain, every pain is kind of a atonement for the first sin. Then women bring a sin offering for the sin type of thing. Let's see the next one.
The sacrifices are to thank God for the miracle of safe childbirth.
Yeah, but this is what you said before. That's the other sacrifice. But a sin offering, why should be a sin offering? Then what's the real explanation? Tell me, who decided in your family how many children you have?
Oh, my wife.
Your wife, huh? Oh, beautiful. Gave the right answer. Everybody comes to me, you have so many children, you have no Rahmanas and your wife. I decide how many children I'm going to have. It's completely up to you. Ask her. People ask me how many children I'm going to have, I tell them 6 million. But the other explanation is, ask her, as many as she wants, that's how many children I'm going to have. Isn't it strange that a woman who has the pain and everything wants to have more children than a man? As we spoke before,
I think it's a desire. That's what I think.
many people, it's what desire, to have children.
Woman has a desire.
To have children.
Yeah, it's an
I know. That's what the question is, why?
Well, you know the reason.
Before, Susie just said in the beginning of the class, she said the biggest gift is the baby. What really happens? Really, the only way our creation continues, we are in the image of God, right? Man was created in the image of God. Where is the image of God in man? What is God? God is the unlimited power, the Ein Sof. God is unlimited. No matter how much God can go, there is no limit. The moment you make a limit to God, it's not God. We're in humanity, there is the power, the unlimited power in childbirth. Children and children and children. It's unlimited. It's a power that's unlimited. Not only this, God created Adam and Eve. We are creating people. If you think about it, this is unbelievable. We are creating human beings. And therefore, anybody who says by a birth, it's like the amazingness of this, that a little child, a human being comes out, it's unbelievable. It's because you are so used to it, we don't pay attention. But really, the experience of childbirth is especially then for the man, he's just standing there like a yacht, He stands there. Oh, we are pregnant. People tell me, we are pregnant. Yeah, you are pregnant. We are pregnant. Sure. She's carrying the baby and he's pregnant. We had a baby. She had a baby. You had a baby. And then your best thing the husband can do is to pray a little bit. If he prays, he's doing something good. If not, it's just a burden. And don't say anything. Sometimes it's like the joke goes that a husband asks his wife before Pesach, what can I help you? He says, your biggest help, just leave the house.
Get out of the way.
He's heard that many times.
After a half hour, he comes back. She tells him, it made up to you. He says, how much can I help? For how long can I help? My help is going out of the house. For how long can I help you? There's a limit. A woman who gives birth has an amazing experience, a spiritual experience. Suddenly she realizes that this is the biggest gift, that everything else is stupid and foolish and nonsense. And jewelry and chocolate and all of this and fights and argument, they all become so meaningless compared to the having a child. And that's why she wants another one, because this is the life. At that moment, she's like God. God created life. She creates life. She's as close to God that a human being can reach. Creating life cannot be anything bigger than that. That's why the name of Eve in Hebrew is Chava, from the word of life, like Chaya, life. She's the mother of life. Then that's why she has to bring a sin offering. You know what she has to bring? Suddenly she realized that everything else is stupid. You know what a sin offering? What's a sin? A sin in Hebrew is chet. Chet doesn't mean necessarily, a sin does not have to mean that you did something wrong. A sin offering could also mean that you missed something. I didn't do a complete job. For example, in Hebrew there is the word chata'i means missing. King David, it was our story with Saul. He says, we will be, but King David, it's written, we will be missing. We will not be around. Then the word missing, chet, could also mean that I'm not done yet. God made, for example, God made the moon smaller. God created the sun and the moon in the beginning, the first day, the third day of creation, the fourth day of creation, the same size. Then the Medrash says, then he reduced the moon. Why reduce the moon? Because the moon, the Talmud puts it, the Medrash puts it like this. The moon came to God and told them, it's not fair. We are two big luminaries, me and the sun. Two kings cannot be in the same kingdom. Two rabbis cannot be in the same shul. It's painful. Two wives cannot be married to the same husband. It just doesn't work. Then God told the moon, great idea. Therefore, because you complained, we will reduce you. Then God reduced the moon, and then there is, that's what Rosh Chodesh is, a new moon. Then there is a offering, a sacrifice that they bring on Rosh Chodesh, a sin offering. Why we bring a sin offering on Rosh Chodesh? That the Medrash says something amazing. God, so to speak, tells the Jewish people, bring an offering to atone for me, for God, for reducing the moon. You see? That offering a sin is not necessarily that you did something bad, that you didn't do completely. There is always more to be done. That's what a sin offering, that's what a sin means. And
but it would make more sense in that concept.
One second. Then the idea by Rosh Chodesh is, then God is asking the Jewish people to atone for him, for making the moon smaller. It's constantly, then that's actually, there is an explanation. I remember as a young child, talked about the Rebbe, and some guy was not a family member, was not Chabad, tells me, what do you mean the Rebbe, he asked me, the Rebbe can sin? I told him, no, the Rebbe doesn't. Tzaddik doesn't sin. What is this? He tells me it's written, then even, there is no tzaddik on earth that doesn't sin. There's a verse in the Torah, in the Tanakh, in the prophet. Not the prophet in Ecclesiastic or in Kohelet, whatever one of them. I told them, he said, how could you say this? I told them, on Rosh Chodesh, God asked we should bring for him a sin offering. Can God sin? I closed his mouth. I didn't even understand then what I was really talking about, but that was enough to shut him off. And he was like, oh. Then what does this mean? No tzaddik, no matter who the tzaddik is, ask any tzaddik on earth. He will always tell you that he can do much more. Just the opposite. A tzaddik who thinks that he did everything is not a tzaddik. I can put money on it. Somebody who thinks he's complete, is perfect, there's nothing to talk about. Sometimes people tell me, I did my share. You did your share, really. Which human being can even say it?
It's impossible for
Impossible.
man to be perfect.
Exactly,
Otherwise,
not only
man
this.
would be God. Or
Exactly,
something.
not only that. It's the Talmud says that a person dies with a half of his desires accomplished. Now, no matter how big your desires are, how much of your accomplishments are, ask. What's this guy who created Apple? What's his name?
Job.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. I'm sure he had plans for me until next life, forever. Then there is a tzaddik even more. He always knows how much he can do more. Now there is another side even to a sin. A sin is also, even if I'm perfect yesterday, so to speak, I did the maximum. As I get closer to God, as I'm getting older, I understand and I appreciate that I could do better. For example, only when you have children, you appreciate what your parents sacrificed for you. Right?
Absolutely.
Before that, young people, selfish, everything they belong, everything they deserve, and you owe them the whole world. Then you give him a few nights to hold their baby while he's crying, and a few other things, and then they say, "Oh, I didn't realize what you went through. Good morning." Then, only as an adult, you start to appreciate what your parents did for you. Then you come and say, "Thank you for everything," and then comes another 10 years pass, you say again, "Thank you," even more, and another 10 years, even more. The same thing is with God. That when a woman gives birth, and she experienced the meaning of life. The real meaning of life. A couple, no question. Many men told me this too. Only when you have children, you really understand what life is all about. Only then you should bring a sin offering. You say, "Oh, what a waste of time was until now." First of all, why I didn't have children a little earlier? Number two, what I was busy with all the nonsense in the world. Busy about my mother-in-law didn't tell me this, and this didn't tell me this, and you see suddenly how everything is become so meaningless. And for this we bring a sin offering. It's not a sin offering because she did something wrong. Just the opposite. Because she did the most right thing. That's why she brings a sin offering. For the past, not for the future. For the act of having a baby. That's the most righteous and most meaningful act it can be. And as we mentioned a few times, the Rebbe once spoke about having children. And he spoke very strong about this, that you need to have children, and people push off the time to have children. And then he said, we can only make a decision when to have children. When to not have children. We cannot make a decision when to have children. Many people say, push off, God gives me an opportunity, I push, not now, later. And then comes later, and there is no later. And the Rebbe brought an example from the Talmud. Talmud says, and we mentioned it a few times, Moses, after the golden calf, he came to God, he says, we saw it was a special moment there of forgiveness, and he told God, "Show me your glory." God told them, the Medrash, the Talmud says, God told them, "Moses, when I wanted to show you, you didn't want to. Why, when I wanted to show you?" And God, the first time God revealed himself at the burning bush, Moses covered his face. That God tells them, when I wanted, you didn't want to, right? Now when you want, I don't want to. Too late, my friend. That means to say in life, there is certain things that are too late. Too late. God gave you an opportunity to have children, now you push this off, too late. Now I want, yeah, you want. I want. Bocher. Not everything is when I want. And therefore, when God gives us an opportunity to do a mitzvah is a nice thing. Having children, that's a mitzvah. That's the ultimate mitzvah. And that's the greatest mitzvah. And therefore, when a woman gives birth, she experiences the closest moment to God. Creation, that's what she's experiencing. And that's why she brings a sin offering for the past. For not doing it before, for being busy with other things, so to speak. Only now you can appreciate what really life is all about. That's the first thing we learn in this week's Parshah. Yeah, Mr. Martel. Any questions?
Well, I
I don't want to convince you to have another
I'm sorry,
child necessarily.
I just had a thought.
Yeah, what's your thought?
I mean, this is a tremendously creative thing, having a child, and on Shabbat, we should engage in creative activity, except for this.
Yes. It's a mitzvah actually.
Except for this, you say?
You cannot create anything else, right? You cannot create cars or fire or anything, but a child, yeah, it's a mitzvah. Because God creates a child. And it's not created in the same moment. I mean, whatever it is, it's not considered creation. It's not work. It's not on the list of works that are not allowed on Shabbos. Actually, it's a mitzvah on Shabbat. Having a child is a mitzvah every day of the year. Almost every day. Besides Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. This is the first part of this Parshah. Now we'll go to the next part of this Parshah. The rest of Tazria start to speak about the laws of Tzarat. Tzarat comes from the word Tzores. Tzores is like, Tzores comes from the word Tzarat. Not that Tzaras comes from the word Tzores, Tzores comes from the word Tzarat. This comes the word. Then it's all about leprosy, and it's not so exciting, let's put it mildly. Then Tzaras was a biblical punishment. A biblical punishment for not only what people usually say about Tzaras. Why Tzaras comes to a person?
Lashon
Lashon Hara, everybody talks about Lashon Hara. Because when you speak, it's true, when you speak Lashon Hara, and you speak gossip, and you gossip about other people, what God is doing for you, He sends you for a AA program. What's the AA program? Anybody who has Tzaras, what's the law? What's we supposed to do with them?
Quarantine.
Quarantine.
Outside the camp.
You sit by yourself. Give you time to reflect about talking about others, to be lonely, to have time to think about God. Because you can only speak gossip if there is a listener, you know. If nobody listens, you cannot talk. You cannot talk to the walls. People say, I don't want to be engaged in gossip. Just don't listen. Don't even have to, just don't listen. Move on to another conversation. You don't even have to say you don't want to do gossip. You just move on. Then they give you time.
Hold on. I'm thinking of something now.
Yeah.
That I learned from you, maybe.
Yeah.
Gossip.
Mhm.
You said if you gossip in the camp by yourself, it's not gossiping, let's say. But if you're gossiping by a graveside, and you're talking about somebody, then it is gossiping.
What do you want to say? I don't say. Say even by yourself, in front of a dead person. I just said probably that you're not allowed to speak Lashon Hara even of dead people. That's what I maybe said. But even by a graveside, gossip, you're speaking to yourself, to the person. No, you didn't hear it from me. No, I'm sorry. You didn't speak.
I heard something from you.
No, you heard a lot of things from me. But it's interesting. It's all discussion if there is Lashon Hara about the dead person. I think it's considered Lashon Hara still. But by yourself, you cannot speak Lashon Hara. You know, they say that once a guy spoke to himself, they asked him, what is this? He said he wants to speak to a smart person. He talks to himself. He couldn't find anybody as smart as him. But the first thing is Lashon Hara comes because of gossip. Leprosy comes for gossip. And then after that person sits a week or two outside by himself, he reconsiders the situation and he thinks maybe better not to talk. How we know that leprosy comes because of gossip?
Because of Miriam.
Because of Miriam. Miriam spoke gossip about Moses. What Miriam said about Moses, Miken Shemein, and what happened there? The conversation was Miriam discovered that Moses doesn't live with his wife. Talking about giving birth, that was the story. Moses, after Mount Sinai, decided that he has to be ready for God every minute. And it's almost, he understood it from God told them, let them go back to their tents after Mount Sinai. Going back to the tent means going back to family life, because 3 days before Mount Sinai, everybody had to be separated. Men and women cannot engage in marital activity. Then go back to your tent, and you stay with me. That Moses understood from God didn't tell him clearly to separate from his wife. That was Moses' idea, and God agreed with him. Moses decided not to go back home, so to speak. He lived in the same tent probably, but he didn't. In any case, It was an event there. There were new prophet inaugurated. A whole bunch of people became prophets, and everybody was happy for them. And Tzipora said under her breath, said, "Oh yeah, I feel bad for them." That Miriam said, "Why you feel bad for them? Congratulations! It's so nice they become prophet." He says, "Since my dear husband became a prophet, I never saw him again." That Miriam turned around to Aaron and she told him, "You heard what's going on? We are also prophet. Miriam and Aaron also God spoke to them at certain occasions, and we are not separated from our spouses. Why is he separating from his wife?" As they were talking about it, God appeared, revealed himself to them. The cloud of glory zoomed in, and both of them, and they started to scream for water because they were not ready for God. And God wanted to show him, when it's a certain thing, you have to be ready, and you guys are not ready. And God told them, why? What God was angry with Miriam? What he told Miriam? Anybody remembers? What God told Miriam?
That she shouldn't be questioning.
How dare you questioning Moses, my trusted servant? It wasn't about Lashon Hara. The question was not you speaking gossip. It was, you are questioning Moses? Moses is my... If I have a problem with Moses, I'll take care of it. But you guys, who are you to talk about Moses? Then it wasn't about Lashon Hara so much. Number two, I'm not even sure it's considered Lashon Hara. She wanted to correct it. She wanted to fix it. If I speak to a parent about his child, is this Lashon Hara? It's not Lashon Hara. I want to fix it. Then what was it? What she was concerned. Miriam was concerned with having that Moses should have more children. She wanted to bring another child to the world. How we know that Miriam's was this? That's what Miriam's concerned. What was Miriam's history? What is Miriam's first? How Miriam's came to the front line of Jewish history? What was Miriam's first event?
When her
Helping
father,
deliver babies.
she told, when her father and mother separated, not to wanting to have children, and she said,
She convinced her mother and father not to be separated. And little Moses was born, right? That she's basically engaging in the same activity. 8 years later, she wants Moses and his wife not to be separated. She told him, she said, his father did the same chokhmah. His father behaved the same. I'm also separated from his wife. Look, I convinced them to get married. Look what came out. A Moses came out. That was after that, the boy and a girl. After that, Miriam and Aaron. They fulfilled already the mitzvah of being fruitful, multiply. And I convinced them they had another child. Not a bad idea. A Moses was born. I want now, here Moses had 2 children, right? Moses had 2 sons, Gershon and Eliezer. Maybe it can be born another Moses. Raise another Miriam, another girl. I mean, it would be nice, no? That Miriam's Lashon Hara there was not. But the point is, why she got leprosy? Leprosy was a sign that God sent you a message that is not happy. Not just for Lashon Hara. For every sin you did. How we know that? Thank God it stopped. How we know that's not only for Lashon Hara? The Haftorah of this Parshah, we are not going to read it this week because we have an additional Parshah, but in the Haftorah of Parshah Tazria, he's speaking about page 255. We'll start on page 256, actually. Number 1, 5:1. Supposed to read?
No, go ahead.
Naaman, commander of the king of Aram's army, was respected by his master and greatly honored by the people. for God had granted victory to Aram through him. He was strong and was willing to fight at any time, but he wasn't able to do so because he was a Sa'aras sufferer.
הצהרה הסופה.
So,
Naaman was a man who was the head of the army of, you know where Aram is? Aram is Damascus, Syria. That's Aram. He was the head of the strongest army in the Middle East. The Jews were afraid of him. He was not Jewish, and he was busy and he attacked the Jews. Continue number 2.
when the Aramites had gone out in raiding parties, they had captured a young girl from the land of Israel who became Naaman's wife.
Servants. She became his servant. He captured a Jewish girl in one of the raids, one of the attacks that they had against the Israelites, against the Jews in Israel. Looks like from the news, you know what I mean? The same story again and again. Go ahead.
She told her mistress, "If my master's request will be brought before the prophet in Shamron, then he will cure him of his
Saras.
sorrows."
Basically, it's like this. According to the Medrash, because he captured the Jewish girl, God punished them with saras, with leprosy. What are you starting up with Jewish people? When God is not upset with you, that's the biblical punishment. They gave the name a biblical punishment for a different punishment not long ago. This is the original biblical punishment. Saras is not something that comes to people today. It's not leprosy. It doesn't exist today. It was only a biblical punishment when God was not happy with somebody. Go ahead. This little girl from Israel, tells her misters, if my master wants to be cured, there is a prophet in Israel. Who was the prophet at that time? The prophet was Elisha. Elisha was the disciple of Elijah. And he was making miracles. She tells him, go in the Shomron, in Samaria, there is a Jewish prophet, and he can cure people. Let him go to him, he will cure him, give him a bracha, he will give him a blessing. He's a miracle maker, he makes miracles, he will cure him. Go ahead. You want to continue, Cohen?
He, Naaman, went and told his master the king, saying, "The girl from the land of Israel told me this."
The Naaman was the head of the army, he wasn't the king. He went to his king, and he told them, listen, there is a girl from Israel, and she says that there is a righteous man who can cure me. Go ahead, continue.
The king of Aram replied, "Go and approach the prophet. I will send a letter to the king of Israel, telling him to instruct the prophet to cure you."
He tells them, I'm the boss here, I'll send him a letter to tell the prophet, to the king, to tell the prophet to do it. No problem, sure.
Ammon left, taking 10 talents of silver, 6,000 gold shekels, and 10 items of clothing with him as a gift for the prophet.
You know, he's not coming like a schlepper. He comes, he gives, he pays for the job. If he will cure him, he will give him a whole big present. Okay, continue.
He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent my servant Naaman to you, that you should heal him of his sorrows," thinking that the king would understand for himself that he should instruct the prophet to heal Naaman.
The king of Aram sent a letter, and he wrote there, when this man comes to you, when this letter reaches you, you better take care of it. But he didn't tell him, sent him to go to the king, sent him to the prophet. The king didn't know what hit him. What is Aram's king driving me crazy? Go ahead.
But when the king of Israel read the letter, the prophet did not even cross his mind, since he did not really believe in the prophet and thought that the king of Aram was asking him to heal Naaman himself. He tore his clothes in fright and said, "Am I God who can kill or restore to life, that he sent someone to cure him of his sorrows?" He is obviously seeking a pretext to come and fight against me.
He said, it didn't even cross his mind, as it say here inside, to come to send him to the prophet. They thought he's talking about him. He was so full of himself and so not in good terms with the king, with the prophet. What means? The prophets always spoke about justice, righteousness, taking care of the poor, of the sick, being religious. The kings of Israel not every time were so in favor of such a guy who will tell you every day what you do wrong. Then he didn't want, the prophet was not on his mind even. Then he said, oh, he's coming to me. It's another way for the king of Aram to find a reason to go to war. If I will not cure Naaman, that will be a reason to attack the Israelites again. He tore his clothing. He says, look what he's doing to me. Corey, continue.
When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a messenger to the king, saying, why have you torn your clothes? Let him, Naaman, come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel.
He told them, what is he turning his clothing? What is he getting all worked up? Let them come to me. I'll cure him. That was an opportunity to teach the king to listen to the prophet. This whole thing was to bring the king back to Judaism. That the king will have to reduce his arrogance and show there is certain things that the king cannot do. You're right, you are not God. The prophet who speaks in the name of God, he could do it. The tzaddik could do this. Go ahead.
Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to tell him, go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your healthy skin will be restored to you, and you will be ritually pure.
Okay. Now he came to Elisha. Elisha didn't want to see him. The big Naaman, the head of the strongest army in the Middle East, that everybody is afraid of him. The prophet who sits in his little house and he's nothing, doesn't have any armies. So he didn't want to see him. He sends a message outside. Doesn't tell him to go to the Jordan River and to wash himself 7 times and he'll become cured. Why he didn't want to see him? Because he had leprosy probably. In any case, what happened? Continue.
Naaman became angry and walked off. Here I was thinking that he'll come out in my honor and stand before me respectfully, and in order to cure me, he'll call out in the name of God, his God, and he will wave his hands towards the affected area, and I, the Cyrus sufferer, would miraculously be healed.
He thought he will come out and he will do something with his hands. You know, you cannot plan how God is going to cure you. Don't decide for God how things are going to work out. You can do everything you need to do to go whatever it is, if it's a job or it's doctors, whatever. But ultimately, how God is going to help you, leave it up to God. He had in his mind a vision. He will come out. I'm the head of the Aram. He says it's not respectfully. What is this? It's not nice. It's not polite. He didn't come out to say hello. That's so not nice. I can't believe it. He did it to me. Therefore, he says, I need water. Look what he says.
Aren't Amana and Parper, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? I am always washing there, and yet I am pure of Cyrus.
Yes.
He turned away and left in anger.
He says, I need the water of the Jordan, the water of the Jordan compared to the big rivers. He says, You know, I was in Israel. Everybody's talking about the Jordanian River. I came to see a river, far from a river. A little water, with barely anything there. Then he says, I need the rivers of the Jordan. We have rivers in Damascus. We can, beautiful. I'm leaving. I don't need you. I don't need his favors. Go ahead, Mark. Number 11. No, in this. Yeah, I do. 13.
His servants approached him and spoke to him. They said, Sir, if the prophets had told you to do something difficult, wouldn't you have done it? All the more so when he tells you an easy thing. Wash and become pure.
They told him, you're already here. You went the whole way. Now you're leaving. What do you care? If he would tell you, I don't know what to do, to give $1 million, he would do. Then he tells you to. Then, Tzoras is also comes for arrogant, by the way. What happened there is, the first thing that he needed to do what the prophet told him, not what he has a plan. He said, you telling me to wash? Yeah, reduce a little bit your ego. Bring your nose down a little bit. Just go wash. What's going in the mikveh? One of the things of the mikveh, tvilah, toivel, the word tovel, is the same letters as bitul. Bitul means nullification. Now, a person gets under the water is to take off his head underneath the water. There's something above him. Is nullified in the water. Fish, a fish without out is not an identity of his own. A fish is a part of the water. Take him out of the water, he's dead. The fish do not have ego, so to speak. They're not a specific identity. Every other animal is as a name as this. It's written that Adam didn't give he gave fish names to every animal. He didn't give names to fish because they're part of the water. Then when a person is nullifying, gets into the water, he becomes a vessel for the blessing of Hashem. And he's arrogant, there is no place for God. He's full. A full cup, can you pour more water to a full cup? You can't. When it's empty, is a vessel to get the blessing. Then a person is full of himself, there is no place for God. He tells them, just go and wash yourself, nudnik. Go do this. Go ahead. Naaman. 14.
Naaman went and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, as the man of God had told him. His skin returned to be like the skin of a young child, and he was pure of sorrows. Naaman returned.
Beautiful! He became cured. He went, he did what the prophet told him. He wasn't there, he wasn't too smart. Hashem helped him. Go ahead.
Naaman returned to the man of God, both he and all his entourage, and came and stood before him. Naaman said, "Now I know that there is no God in the whole world other than in Israel. Now please accept a gift from your servant."
2 things happened here. First of all, this time, Elisha welcomed him on. It's pure, it's clean. Amachaya, welcome. The second thing is, Naaman said, "Now I know that that's the only God of Israel." The only reason for this miracle was to bring the world, the world should recognize there is a God. We have not only an obligation that Jewish people should recognize God, we have an obligation that non-Jewish world should believe in one God and understand what God is. And therefore we have an obligation for the 7 Noahide laws to teach the rest of the world, to share with the rest of the world our beliefs. We don't have to make them Jews, we don't want to make them Jews. But they should be non-Jews who believe in God and obey the 7 Noahide laws. Basically, they live by the laws of not to kill, not to steal, not to be moral people, but the morality based on God, not on themselves. And that's what happened here. He says, "Now I know," and he wanted to give him a gift. He wanted to pay him for the miracle. What happened?
Elisha replied, "By the living God before whom I regularly stand in prayer, I cannot accept any gift." Naaman begged Elisha to take something, but he refused. Naaman said, "At least let your servant be given 2 mule loads of earth from the Holy Land to build an altar. For your servant will no longer offer burnt offerings or sacrifices to other gods, but only to God."
He tells him, he didn't want to take the gift. He didn't want payment for the mitzvah. He didn't want to take reward, because at the moment he gets money, Naaman feels he's paid off, he's done. You don't pay off for a miracle. You want him to be obligated to God. Look what happened. Only after he told them that he doesn't want to take money, he told them, "I will not serve any other God than your God." He felt obligated. If this, he said, "I came, I got a miracle, paid off, I'm done. Goodbye." No. It doesn't work like this. Now you have to serve God. That's your payment. Your payment is a spiritual payment, not a physical. You pay this off, you write the check, and you move on. Now what is he telling him? Go ahead, continue.
"May your servant please ask God to forgive me, though for this one thing. When my master the king goes to the temple of Rimmon to bow down there, his bowing coerces me to bow down too in the temple of Rimmon. May God please forgive your servant for this, for bowing down in the temple of Rimmon."
Basically, he told him, he apologized. He says, "I have to go with my master to the other idols, and I have to bow down. Then you should just know I do it just because of them. I really don't believe in it anymore. But I'll have to do it." He said in advance, he will have to do it, because if not, he will be
You're
getting
talking
trouble.
about Naaman?
Naaman, yeah.
He has to, with his master?
It is master.
I thought he was the head of the...
The king.
He was the head of the army. And
Not
on
the
top of
king.
him was the king. The king sent a letter for him, you remember?
No.
Now you know. Then he apologized, but this was accomplished because we didn't try to make a buck on the miracle. If the prophet would take money, he wouldn't get this kind of response. And he didn't want to take anything for it. There is in Jewish history many stories of people who saved lives, and the only reason when the king or this non-Jew wanted to pay them off, he says, "Don't pay me. One day when the Jewish people will need a favor, remember what I did for you." And these things helped to the Jew. There is hundreds of stories, literally, of people who got a favor, got a miracle, a blessing from a great rabbi. There is stories about great Hasidic rabbis who gave a person who is not Jewish a blessing for a child, and he wanted to pay. He says, "Don't pay me, but remember, when the Jewish people in your community will need help," and then 50 years later, 60 years later, the son who was born from the miracle said, "I was born from a blessing from a rabbi. I'm going to take care of you." And it's not worth it to take small coins for such things. It's better to keep it and to let the person understand that he has to pay off, not here, but in a bigger way to the Jewish people, wherever he is. And he told them, let's just finish this line. Elisha told them,
Go in peace, and Naaman traveled away from him some distance.
then we see here that the whole idea of tzaras, of leprosy, is it's a biblical punishment for everything that God is not happy with a person. It used to be in time of the temple. But thank God now we are so holy and so pure we don't have to suffer from this thing.
We got other tsuras.
Yeah.